So we're back again. We're jumping back into the truck after our short little hiatus working on the Z and getting some other things kind of cleaned up and prepped. We also have some new microphones, so let us know if the audio quality is to your satisfaction. We're definitely trying to make our video quality better. But now we're getting into the exciting part with the truck because we're gonna start on the metal fabrication on getting the subframes mounted. So we have the front subframe here that we had taken back off. It still has the notch marks from when we had it installed the first time. The big goal with this is to get it to sit flush with the frame. So what we're gonna end up doing is to notch this section of the frame out. We're gonna plate it back in, so it shouldn't be any issues with structural weakness or anything like that. No worries there. But we also have our set of digital calipers so that we can measure the metal thicknesses for all of our items, so we can make sure that whatever we get is the right gauge to weld this back in and have it as structurally strong as possible. So keep on watching, we're gonna jump into it.
Hey Collin, so what you doing?
So right now, I'm basically working on trying to get the subframe line back up how it was previously, so we can take some measurements to make sure that our center lines for our wheels, once we get the truck put back together, are centered in the fender wells. It's not the most critical because we could just modify the fenders to fit them if need be, but we want to try and have it as square as possible. So this is step one. Okay, so got the subframe, got it, trimmed it up a little bit more that we need to do, cut off some of the old welds, and got it approximately into place. This is not gonna be absolutely the final place, but we wanted to get it on here to take a look at a couple things. One thing that, if you'll notice, is how far up this is sitting. That is because this is one of the rear mount for the lower control arm on the front. So in order to get this to sit down where it needs to sit, that's why the frame needs to be coped right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure to keep the width to the minimum width that this needs to be and trim it out and then plate it back in. So we're gonna take some measurements, work on getting that trimmed out, and then measuring out the metals that we need and work on getting those so we can start welding stuff back in. So we're pretty much done getting the front subframe into place. We took a lot of time just taking it off, notching it, shaving off a little bit to make sure that it has pretty good fitment. And we have it to where the angle difference between the frame and the subframe is fairly negligible. It's about a degree and a half. But we didn't want to go down much further because we didn't want to compromise the strength of the subframe. So we'll live with that degree. It's not gonna affect anything. Most of the stuff that is mounted into the engine bay at this point that could potentially be affected is soft mounted, such as the engine is on rubber mounts. So we're not too concerned about that, but we have it close. So we're gonna move on from here. We decided that instead of cutting the entire frame out, we just notched it. And we're gonna work on adding an extra notch so that the eccentric bolts can pass through and weld it back in. And we're gonna get working on plating everything in and get this permanently mounted and moving on from there. So keep an eye out for that.
All right, we're back. We're ready to weld. A few things we have to do first. First, we have to notch out a few more things on the frame. After that, we will prepare the surface for tacking the subframe in place. We have a MIG welder here. It also doubles up as a flux welder, so depending on the thickness, we might have to switch over to flux just for the thicker portions, but we're finally here. So excited to show you our next milestone.
Now that we have all of our weld points ground back down and the primer taken back off, I know we just did the primer, but we knew that this was gonna be the case. We just wanted to make sure it was protected in the meantime. But now that we are ready to weld, I'm actually gonna hit it with this weld through primer, so that way any of the spots that we aren't able to get to after the fact will be covered and protected. So we're gonna hit that real quick and we'll get right to welding.
And we're almost there, almost at our major milestone. We're proud to say that we finally have the subframe welded on. And so after a day of meticulously measuring with a ruler. We were able to balance the subframe and line it up the way we'd want it to. We notched out what we needed to. We cleaned it up with our grinder. And you know, I've been taking welding classes for this channel, and I was able to finally implement it. So you'll see some horrible welds. So forgive me, but we're doing it just to make sure it holds well. So we put some extra welds on. We're gonna grind it off. It's going to be underneath the cabin, and you won't see it anyways, but we'll know it's strong enough to hold us. So with that, I want to thank you all for following us on this journey. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.